Have you ever noticed that the strongest person in the room is rarely the loudest? It isn't the one who demands attention. It isn't the one who always has the perfect comeback. And it certainly isn't the person who explodes in anger every time life refuses to go their way. The truly powerful person often appears ordinary. They speak calmly. They move deliberately. They don't rush. They don't panic. And perhaps most importantly, they don't allow their emotions to control their decisions. In a world obsessed with domination, status, and influence, we've been taught that power means controlling others. But the ancient Stoics believed the exact opposite. They argued that if your emotions control you, then someone else already does. Think about it. If one insult ruins your entire day, who is really in control? If one rejection destroys your confidence, who holds the power? If one temptation makes you abandon your goals, were you ever truly free to begin with? Most people spend their entire lives trying to conquer the outside world. They chase more money, more recognition, more followers, more approval. They believe that once they finally have enough, they'll become powerful. Yet history tells a different story. Kings have ruled vast empires while secretly becoming slaves to greed. Successful entrepreneurs have built fortunes while being unable to control their anger. Celebrities admired by millions have destroyed their own lives because they couldn't master their desires. They possessed influence over the world, but had none over themselves. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was born into slavery, understood something that many powerful rulers never did. He taught that true freedom begins the moment you stop allowing external events to dictate your inner peace. Real chains aren't always made of iron. Sometimes they're made of fear, addiction, ego, comparison, or the endless need for approval. These invisible chains imprison millions of people every single day, and the tragedy is that most don't even realize they're wearing them. Imagine carrying a cup filled to the very top with water. Every small bump causes it to spill. Now imagine another cup that is only half full. No matter how uneven the road becomes, it remains steady. Your mind works the same way. When it is overflowing with ego, anxiety, pride, anger, and insecurity, every inconvenience shakes you. A rude comment, traffic, a delayed message, a disagreement. Suddenly, your emotions spill everywhere. But when your mind is calm, life can shake you without breaking you. This is the hidden strength that Stoicism teaches. Not the strength to defeat another person, but the strength to remain undefeated by yourself. Because your greatest enemy has never been your boss, your parents, your competitors, or society. It has always been the part of you that seeks instant gratification instead of long-term growth. The part that wants revenge instead of peace. The part that chooses comfort over discipline. The part that reacts before thinking. Every day, you are fighting an invisible battle. And the battlefield is your own mind. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled one of history's greatest empires, wrote something remarkable in his private journal. He reminded himself that the greatest victory was never over another nation. It was over his own impulses. Imagine that. A man who commanded armies believed his hardest battle wasn't on the battlefield. It was inside himself. That tells us something profound. The size of your bank account doesn't determine your strength. Your social status doesn't determine your strength. Your physical appearance doesn't determine your strength. Your ability to remain calm when everyone else loses control, that is strength. Your ability to stay disciplined when nobody is watching, that is strength. Your ability to walk away from unnecessary conflict, that is strength. Anyone can react. Anyone can lose their temper. Anyone can blame the world. But very few people can pause, reflect, and choose wisdom over impulse. That is where real power begins. There is a strange contradiction in modern life. We admire people who seem powerful. The billionaire who owns companies, the celebrity with millions of followers, the executive who commands respect in every meeting, the politician who influences nations. From the outside, these people appear to possess everything that defines power. But appearances can be deceptive. A person may control thousands of employees and still be unable to control their own anger. Someone may influence millions online, yet feel devastated by a single negative comment. Another may accumulate unimaginable wealth while remaining a prisoner to endless desire, never feeling that what they have is enough. If your peace of mind depends on circumstances outside your control, then your power is only an illusion. This is one of the greatest lessons Stoicism offers us. The Stoics believe there are only two kinds of things in life: what is within our control and what is not. Most people spend nearly all their energy chasing the second category. They try to control how others perceive them. They worry about being admired. They obsess over winning every argument. They become anxious over events that haven't even happened yet. They crave certainty in a world where certainty doesn't exist, because they devote themselves to controlling the uncontrollable. They live in constant frustration. Think about how much emotional energy is wasted every day. Someone ignores your message and your mood changes. A coworker receives the promotion you wanted, and envy begins to grow. Someone criticizes your work, and suddenly you feel the need to defend yourself. A stranger leaves a hateful comment online, and your entire day is consumed by the desire to prove them wrong. Without realizing it, you have handed the keys to your emotional life to someone else. They didn't force you to suffer. You surrendered your peace voluntarily. This is why the Stoics warned against becoming slaves to external events. The world will never stop testing you. People will misunderstand you. Plans will fail. Unexpected problems will arise. No amount of intelligence, wealth, or preparation can eliminate uncertainty. The only lasting solution is to strengthen the one thing that can remain steady through all of it: your own character. Imagine two ships sailing through the same violent storm. One has a skilled captain who remains calm, adjusts the sails, and keeps the vessel on course. The other captain panics. He shouts at the crew, blames the weather, and makes reckless decisions driven by fear. The storm is identical. The difference lies not in the ocean, but in the person steering the ship. Life works the same way. You cannot stop the storms, but you can become the kind of person who knows how to navigate them. This is why self-control is not about eliminating emotion. It is about refusing to let emotion become your master. Anger is not the enemy. Fear is not the enemy. Desire is not the enemy. The danger begins when these emotions make your decisions for you. A moment of anger can destroy a friendship built over decades. A few seconds of temptation can erase years of discipline. One impulsive decision can alter the course of an entire life. The tragedy is that these moments rarely feel significant while they're happening. The angry words seem justified. The unhealthy habit feels harmless. The shortcut feels convenient. Only later do we recognize the cost. This is why wisdom is often found in the pause between feeling and action. That brief moment, the space between impulse and response, is where your freedom lives. Most people react automatically. They're like leaves carried wherever the wind blows. A compliment inflates their ego. An insult crushes their confidence. Success makes them arrogant. Failure makes them hopeless. Their emotional state changes with every circumstance because they have never learned to anchor themselves. But the Stoic seeks something deeper. He does not ask, "How can I control the world?" He asks, "How can I remain steady regardless of what the world does?" That single shift in perspective changes everything. Because the person who cannot be manipulated by praise or criticism, by pleasure or pain, by success or failure, possesses a kind of freedom that cannot be bought or taken away. That is real power, not the power to dominate others, but the power to remain the author of your own actions, even when life gives you every reason to lose control. And perhaps that is why the strongest people often appear so calm. Their silence is not weakness. Their patience is not passivity. Their composure is not indifference. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows that the greatest victory is not winning against another person. It is winning against the part of yourself that always wants to react without thinking. When people think of strength, they often imagine something dramatic. They picture a warrior charging into battle, an athlete pushing past exhaustion, or a leader standing before thousands of people, commanding attention with confidence and authority. But the greatest displays of strength rarely happen in front of an audience. They happen in complete silence. They happen in the moments when no one is watching. When you resist the temptation to quit. When you refuse to respond to an insult. When you choose patience over anger. When you stay faithful to your principles even though breaking them would be easier. These are the invisible victories that shape the course of a person's life. The Stoics understood this better than almost anyone. To them, strength was never measured by how much force you could exert over the world. It was measured by how much authority you had over yourself. Imagine two men standing face to face after a heated argument. The first man explodes with rage. His voice rises. His fists tighten. Every word is meant to wound. For a brief moment he feels powerful. He believes he has asserted his dominance. The second man remains calm. He listens. He breathes. He chooses his words carefully, or perhaps chooses not to speak at all. From the outside, many would assume the first man is stronger. But the Stoics would argue the opposite. The angry man did not control his emotions. His emotions controlled him. His anger became the master, and he became its servant. The calm man, however, remained the ruler of his own mind. He was not passive. He was not afraid. He simply refused to let another person's behavior determine his own. That is not weakness. That is mastery. Think about how often people surrender their power without realizing it. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and they carry that frustration for hours. A harsh comment online ruins their entire evening. One setback convinces them they are failures. One rejection makes them question their worth. One moment of embarrassment keeps them from trying again. Each time this happens, they hand control of their inner world to something outside themselves. But a person with self-control understands a profound truth. Not everything deserves a reaction. In fact, many of life's greatest problems grow larger simply because we feed them with our attention. The Stoics compared the mind to a fortress. A fortress is not powerful because it attacks everything around it. It is powerful because it knows what to let in and what to keep out. Your mind works the same way. Every insult is like someone knocking at the gate. Every temptation is another visitor asking to enter. Every distraction is a voice calling for your attention. You cannot stop them from arriving, but you can decide which ones deserve access. This is why discipline is so closely connected to freedom. At first, that idea sounds strange. Most people think discipline is restrictive. They believe discipline means saying no to pleasure, comfort, or spontaneity. But look closer. The person who cannot stop scrolling through social media is not free. The person who cannot control their spending is not free. The person who cannot resist unhealthy habits is not free. The person who constantly seeks approval from others is not free. They are being led by impulses, desires, and fears they never chose. Real freedom is not the ability to do whatever you feel like doing. Real freedom is the ability to choose what is right, even when your emotions are pulling you in another direction. This is why self-control is the foundation of every meaningful achievement. No one builds a successful career without discipline. No one develops deep relationships without patience. No one becomes physically healthy without consistency. No one finds lasting peace without learning to govern their own thoughts. Every extraordinary life is built upon thousands of ordinary moments where someone chose wisdom over impulse. History confirms this again and again. The greatest leaders were not remembered simply because they possessed intelligence. They were remembered because they remained steady when others panicked. The greatest athletes were not defined by talent alone. They were defined by the discipline to keep training long after motivation disappeared. The greatest thinkers were not those who never experienced fear or doubt. They were those who refused to let fear make their decisions. The pattern is always the same. Mastery of the outer world begins with mastery of the inner one. And perhaps that is why Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire stretching across continents, spent so much time reminding himself to remain humble, patient, and disciplined. He knew that losing control of his own character would be a greater defeat than losing any battle. Because an empire can be rebuilt, a reputation can recover, money can be earned again. But every time you surrender your character to anger, greed, fear, or ego, you become a little less free. And freedom, once lost, is not easily regained. More than 2,000 years have passed since the Stoics first shared their ideas, yet their wisdom feels as though it was written for the modern world. Perhaps that is because human nature has changed very little. Our technology is different, our cities are larger, our lives move faster. But the struggles remain the same. We still wrestle with anger. We still fear rejection. We still chase approval. We still lose ourselves in comparison. The names of our problems have changed, but the battle within the human mind remains exactly as it was centuries ago. This is why the teachings of the Stoics continue to resonate today. They were never trying to explain how to build a perfect world. They were teaching us how to build a mind that remains steady in an imperfect one. One of the most powerful ideas comes from Marcus Aurelius, who spent years leading the Roman Empire through wars, political conflict, disease, and personal tragedy. Despite carrying responsibilities that most of us can barely imagine, he repeatedly reminded himself of one simple truth: you always have power over your own response. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say you have power over what happens. He didn't promise that life would become fair. He didn't claim that good people are always rewarded. Instead, he pointed to the one place where real freedom exists, the space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. That space is invisible. It lasts only a few seconds. But within those few seconds lies the difference between a life ruled by impulse and a life guided by wisdom. Imagine someone insults you. Your first reaction is immediate. Your heart beats faster. Your pride feels wounded. Your mind begins preparing the perfect response. Most people act at that exact moment. They send the angry message. They shout. They seek revenge. Days later, they regret what they said. But the Stoic trains himself to pause. He observes the emotion without immediately obeying it. He recognizes that anger is only a visitor, not the owner of the house. He understands that feelings are real, but they are not commands. This is one of the greatest misconceptions about self-control. Many believe that emotionally strong people simply don't experience difficult emotions. The Stoics never claimed this. Marcus Aurelius felt frustration. Seneca struggled with anxiety. Epictetus experienced suffering most of us can hardly imagine. What made them extraordinary wasn't the absence of emotion. It was their refusal to let emotion become their master. Think of the mind as the sky. Your thoughts and emotions are the weather. Some days the sky is clear. Other days it is filled with thunder, wind, and dark clouds. But no matter how violent the storm becomes, the sky itself remains untouched. In the same way, your awareness is greater than the emotions passing through it. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your anxiety. Those experiences come and go. But if you identify with every passing emotion, you become like a boat drifting wherever the waves decide to carry it. The Stoic seeks to become the captain instead. Another lesson comes from Epictetus, who spent part of his life as a slave. Imagine that for a moment. A man whose body belonged to another still believed that his mind could remain free. He taught that no one could truly harm your character unless you allowed them to. People may insult you. They may lie about you. They may underestimate you. They may even take away your possessions. But they cannot force you to become bitter. They cannot force you to abandon your values. They cannot force you to betray your integrity. Only you possess that authority. This idea is incredibly difficult to accept because it removes our favorite excuse. We often blame other people for the state of our lives. They made me angry. They ruined my day. They forced me to react. But the Stoics would gently challenge that belief. Did they create the emotion, or did they simply reveal what was already waiting inside you? This isn't meant to produce guilt. It is meant to produce freedom. Because if your peace depends entirely on other people behaving the way you want, then your peace will always remain fragile. But if your peace depends on your own character, suddenly it becomes something no one can steal. Seneca offered another timeless insight. He observed that people suffer far more in imagination than in reality. Think about how often your mind creates disasters that never happen. You replay conversations before they occur. You imagine failure before you've even tried. You assume rejection before anyone has answered. You carry the weight of tomorrow's problems today. Your body experiences stress over events that exist only in your imagination. The Stoics understood that the uncontrolled mind creates unnecessary suffering. Self-control, therefore, is not only about resisting temptation, it is also about refusing to believe every fearful thought that enters your mind. Not every thought deserves your trust. Not every emotion deserves your obedience. Not every impulse deserves your action. The wise person learns to observe first and act second. Philosophy is only valuable if it changes the way you live. It is easy to admire the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. It is far more difficult to practice that wisdom when life becomes inconvenient. The true test of Stoicism does not happen while reading a book. It happens on an ordinary Tuesday, when someone criticizes you unfairly, when you're exhausted after a long day, when temptation whispers that you can skip your responsibilities just this once, when anger feels justified, when comfort feels more appealing than discipline. These ordinary moments are where character is forged. The Stoics believe that every challenge life places before you is also an opportunity to strengthen your mind. Think of self-control as a muscle. No one expects to walk into a gym and lift the heaviest weight on the first day. Strength is built through repetition, small choices, and consistent effort. The mind works exactly the same way. Every time you resist an unnecessary impulse, your mind becomes a little stronger. Every time you choose patience instead of anger, your character grows. Every time you finish what you promised yourself you would do, you earn a little more trust in yourself. Eventually, these small victories become your identity. You are no longer someone trying to become disciplined. You simply become a disciplined person. That transformation begins with the smallest decisions. When your alarm rings, do you immediately surrender to comfort, or do you choose your future over your present feelings? When you're frustrated, do you react instantly, or do you pause long enough to ask yourself whether your response will improve the situation? When you fail, do you make excuses, or do you take responsibility and begin again? These questions may seem insignificant, but your life is nothing more than the accumulation of thousands of such moments. Every decision casts a vote for the person you are becoming. The Stoics also practiced something known as voluntary discomfort. This did not mean making life miserable for its own sake. It meant intentionally stepping outside of comfort so that comfort would never become a necessity. Sometimes they would eat simple meals despite having access to luxury. Sometimes they would sleep on the floor. Sometimes they would expose themselves to cold weather or physical hardship. Why? Because they understood a dangerous truth. The more comfort controls you, the easier it becomes for life to control you. A person who cannot tolerate discomfort becomes fragile, but a person who willingly embraces difficulty becomes resilient. You don't need to sleep on the floor to apply this lesson today. You can take a cold shower, exercise when you don't feel like it, read instead of endlessly scrolling, save money instead of buying something you don't need, spend time alone without reaching for your phone. These simple acts train your mind to say something incredibly powerful. I decide, not my impulses. That is the essence of self-control. Another habit the Stoics practiced was reflecting on each day. Before sleeping, they would ask themselves honest questions. Where did I lose control today? What tempted me? What did I do well? How can I respond more wisely tomorrow? Notice that they weren't seeking perfection. They were seeking progress. Because becoming stronger isn't about never failing. It's about learning from every failure instead of repeating it. The person who reflects grows wiser. The person who avoids reflection remains trapped in the same patterns year after year. Perhaps this is why so many people feel stuck. They repeat the same habits, the same reactions, and the same excuses. Then they wonder why nothing changes. But change begins the moment you become aware of yourself. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates action. Action creates character. And character creates destiny. So the next time life tests your patience, pause. The next time anger rises within you, breathe. The next time fear tells you not to try, take one step forward anyway. These moments may seem small, but they are the moments that determine the direction of your entire life. Every time you choose wisdom over impulse, discipline over comfort, and peace over anger, you become a little more free. And perhaps that is the greatest gift self-control can offer. Not success, not wealth, not admiration, but freedom. The freedom to live according to your values instead of your emotions. The freedom to remain calm while the world falls into chaos. The freedom to act with intention instead of instinct. The freedom to become the author of your own life. Marcus Aurelius once ruled one of the greatest empires in history. Yet the battle he wrote about most often was not against foreign armies. It was against himself. He understood something many people never do. The greatest victory is not defeating another person. It is defeating the habits, fears, impulses, and desires that keep you from becoming who you were meant to be. In the end, power has never been about raising your voice. It has never been about proving others wrong. It has never been about controlling the world. Real power is waking up each day and knowing that no matter what life throws at you, your principles remain stronger than your emotions. Because when you master your mind, no insult can own you, no temptation can enslave you, no setback can define you, no fear can stop you, and no one can take away the peace you have built within yourself. That is what the Stoics meant by freedom. That is why self-control is real power. Before you leave, ask yourself one simple question. What is the one habit, emotion, or impulse that has been quietly controlling your life? The answer may be uncomfortable, but it is also the beginning of your freedom. Remember this: the person who conquers himself can never truly be defeated.